Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I offer an update on the case of the Baby Reindeer defamation lawsuit? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, offer a summary of 2 motions filed in the lawsuit, then offer my analysis. In April 2024, Netflix released a 7-episode series titled Baby Reindeer, which was a tremendous success for the streaming service. In the first episode, a caption indicates that the show is a true story. At the end of each episode, there is a post-credits disclaimer that reads, quote, "This program is based on real events. However, certain characters, names, incidents, locations, and dialogue have been fictionalized for dramatic purposes." Netflix sent mixed messages here. The show is based on the experiences of a comedian named Richard Gadd and his interactions with a stalker. Richard plays a version of himself named Donnie Dunn. The actress Jessica Gunning plays the stalker, Martha Scott. Here is a summary of the series. Spoiler alert for Baby Reindeer. Donnie Dunn was a struggling comedian in London who worked at a pub. One day, a woman named Martha Scott came into the pub. Donnie felt sorry for her and offered her a free cup of tea. She appeared to be down on her luck, yet claimed to be a famous attorney. Martha kept returning to the pub, told fantastical stories, and became flirtatious with Donnie. She called him Baby Reindeer, which is where the series title came from. At this point, Martha transformed into a stalker. She sent Donnie hundreds of emails a day, interrupted his comedy performances, pushed him against a wall and groped him, sat at a bus stop across from Donnie's home for hours every day, stalked a police officer, and harassed Donnie's parents. Eventually, Martha was arrested and sent to prison for about 5 years. Donnie never saw Martha again. The series did not use real names, but viewers were able to quickly identify a woman named Fiona Harvey as the real Martha Scott based on a phrase used in the show, namely the phrase, "hang my curtains," which was a euphemism for sex. Fiona was not too happy about the way she was depicted in the series. During an interview with Piers Morgan in May of 2024, she denied being a stalker and suggested that Richard had mental health problems. She admitted that she knew Richard and may have sent a few emails to him, but denied many of the claims made in the Baby Reindeer series. Fiona said she would be suing Netflix, which is exactly what she did on June 6, 2024. Among other things, she accused Netflix of defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, and was looking for a $170 million award. Contrary to what was depicted in the series, Fiona claimed that she never assaulted Richard, never stalked him, never stalked a police officer, and has never been convicted of any crime or been sent to prison. In a curious twist, Fiona never mentioned some of the other claims in the series. For example, Baby Reindeer portrayed Martha as sending over 41,000 emails to Donnie Dunn, as well as 700 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, and 106 pages of letters. She also left 350 hours of voicemails. Netflix responded to Fiona's lawsuit, and Richard filed a declaration in support of the motion. First, I'll offer a summary of the motion filed by Netflix, then summarize the declaration by Richard. In their motion, Netflix argued that Fiona Harvey's reputation was already damaged prior to the release of Baby Reindeer. She had been publicly accused of stalking by an attorney from Scotland, a politician from Scotland, and a former member of Parliament. Baby Reindeer is fictionalized for dramatic purposes, and Fiona's name did not appear anywhere in the series. Certain viewers did figure out Fiona's identity from the series, but the legal test is whether reasonable viewers, not a specialized audience, would understand the character Martha acted as Fiona acted in real life. Even if a reasonable viewer could figure it out, they would still not necessarily believe the series to be factual in light of the disclaimer, which appeared in every episode. The way Netflix presented Richard's story is a legally protected opinion under the First Amendment. Now moving to the declaration that Richard filed. Richard indicated that Baby Reindeer was a dramatic work about his personal struggles and experiences and not a documentary. It did not literally represent true details and imagery. Baby Reindeer is an emotionally true story containing fictionalized characters. It is not a representation of actual facts about any real person, including Fiona Harvey. At this point, Richard Gadd offered a lengthy description about his real-life experiences with Fiona Harvey. In 2014, Richard met Fiona in the pub where he worked. He gave her a free cup of tea, and they had a friendly conversation. From this point on, Fiona stalked and harassed him. This continued all the way until 2017. She showed up at the pub frequently, sometimes staying all day, memorized the pattern of Richard's shifts, called the pub on days when he was not working, and tried to embarrass him in front of the staff. Initially, Richard thought that Fiona was harmless, but he quickly grew frustrated. Fiona was handsy and made many unwanted advances. Sometime around March 2015, she became increasingly hostile. During an incident at the pub, Fiona shoved Richard in the back of the neck and told him his mouth would get him into trouble. Richard became afraid of Fiona. Sometimes Fiona would wait outside the pub for Richard to finish work, follow him around town, and watch his comedy and theater performances. During these performances, she would be disruptive. Fiona sent him thousands of emails, a few handwritten letters, and left him hundreds of hours of voicemails. Her communications were often sexually explicit, violent, hateful, derogatory, and threatening. Richard Gadd supplied several examples of these communications from Fiona. Here are just a few of the statements that Fiona allegedly made. Fiona called Richard naive, ugly, stupid, and badly educated, told him that he had a very big enemy in the acting world, threatened him with litigation, and claimed that she had considerable contacts in every walk of life who were angry with Richard. This included a number of law firms. Fiona directed Richard to shut his, quote, ignorant little failed actor mouth, unquote. She said that she was glad she never dated him because he was gay and she would have AIDS, implied that she was running for seats in Parliament, and claimed she was headed to a gun shop to buy guns to shoot each other. Many of Fiona's comments were graphic. She said to Richard, quote, I want to blank your blank all day and have you blank me and have a stab at this, unquote. Fiona demanded sex 3 times a night and twice in the morning, and stated, quote, I just want to give you loads and loads of blank jobs to make you sleep, unquote. She appeared to be obsessed with his rear area when she said, quote, you still have a cute blank, though. I have been thinking a lot about your blank. It's your best bit, unquote. Fiona did not appear to be as big a fan of his genitals. In a voicemail, she threatened to smash Richard's testicles. Fiona sent Richard images of her in underwear. She made references to her frequent self-service activity. For example, using a word that rhymes with Doris, she said, quote, Hi, my blank dropped off. Too much masturbation. Had a lovely Christmas day, just pleasing myself, unquote. Using a word that rhymes with knock, Fiona said, quote, Where's you and your blank when I need it, unquote. Fiona threatened Richard's family and coworkers. Referring to a coworker, Fiona said, quote, She is a blank blanking little blank with no blanks, unquote. After Richard took the voicemails to the police, Fiona told him that she knew 100,000 lawyers and that she was 25,000 steps ahead of him. At the time I'm making this video, Fiona Harvey's lawsuit is ongoing. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Despite what was stated in the Baby Reindeer series, Fiona Harvey was never actually convicted of any crime. This, of course, is the key argument in her lawsuit. Netflix falsely stated that she had been convicted. On May 23, 2024, the senior director of public policy for Netflix in the UK told the government that Baby Reindeer was a true story and Richard Gadd suffered at the hands of a convicted stalker. Later, the senior director asked to clarify his position, stating that the stalker was subject to a court order rather than a conviction. Fiona allegedly left voicemails for Richard indicating that she had undercover police officers drug dealers, lawyers, and former lawyers after him. This makes it seem like Fiona was looking for trouble. She was always looking for any reason to litigate. Netflix should have seen litigation coming from a mile away. With this in mind, one would think that the streaming service would have been extra careful. For example, avoiding any claim that Baby Reindeer was a true story and thoroughly investigating the allegation that Fiona had been convicted of a crime. It makes absolutely no sense to give Fiona ammunition to use against them. Item number 2. Fiona has a point in her lawsuit. Netflix should not have said anything about a criminal conviction because there was no conviction. Even so, Fiona should not look forward to collecting millions of dollars. There is a point where someone's reputation becomes so damaged they cannot effectively make a claim of defamation. That is what may have happened in this case. If Richard is telling the truth about all those emails and voicemails, it really does seem like Fiona was stalking him. She wasn't convicted of stalking, but if she had been arrested, the government could have built a strong case against her. Can Fiona really prevail with this type of defamation claim when she engaged in behavior that could have resulted in her being convicted? Do people really look at Fiona Harvey and think, well, she did send those 41,000 emails and mercilessly harassed Richard Gadd for 3 years, but I think she's a great person because she was never convicted. If she had been convicted, that would completely change my mind. Everything hinges on an outcome in the criminal justice system. I think it's more likely that Fiona's reputation was destroyed by engaging in the stalking behavior. She did this to herself. The lack of conviction almost represents a technicality under these circumstances. It indicates that she was lucky as opposed to innocent. Item number 3. If the statements in Richard's declaration are true, what does this say about Fiona Harvey? What does it tell us about her personality and the dynamic that formed between her and Richard? This is just a theory, my opinion. The communications featured in the declaration point to a woman who had a lot of spare time, poor judgment, and no insight. Fiona indicated that she hated various types of people, pretended that she was powerful and well-connected, and repeatedly made crude and unwanted advances toward Richard. Perhaps this is someone who was romantically rejected so many times that she decided to take control. Fiona was self-centered, aggressive, impulsive, immature, grandiose, jealous, desperate, antagonistic, forceful, and had a sense of entitlement. Fiona tried to coerce her way into a romantic relationship. She was obsessed with Richard and simply could not let go of her fantasy. There was no subtlety in Fiona's approach. This was a brute force attack, complete with explicit language and frightening threats. Under normal circumstances, Fiona would have been arrested immediately, but her tactics were so unrefined and transparent that Richard felt sorry for her. He inadvertently encouraged her behavior. Richard underestimated Fiona's capabilities, which almost led to disaster. I find it curious that the dynamic between Fiona and Richard is similar to the one observed between Fiona and Netflix. The streaming service must have known that Fiona was litigious and combative, yet they underestimated her capabilities. They made a mistake by falsely claiming that she was convicted of a crime, which opened the door to continued interaction in the form of a lawsuit. Netflix and Richard Gadd fell into the same trap. Now moving to my final thoughts. The filings in this lawsuit highlight a precarious situation. How does society help someone who is determined to cause destruction and suffering? If somebody's reputation is beyond repair, the implications are wider than just the inability to prove a defamation claim. Fiona was never convicted of a crime, but she is locked in a prison of no insight. Those are my thoughts in the case of Baby Reindeer. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They consistently generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching. Referring to a coworker, Fiona said, quote, "She is a blanking little blank with no blanks." Referring to a coworker, Fiona said, quote, "She is a blanking little blank with no blanks." Referring to a coworker, Fiona said, quote, "She is a blanking little blank with no blanks."